Loic, I just made a joke off camera, but I'll do it publicly. I said, if the French had your backbone, then Europe would be a lot stronger.
Thank you. Coming from you, it's a great compliment.
Well, speaking of the French, Loic, you're unusual in the sense that you know both sides of the Atlantic intimately. Both the French, so if there is a startup world in France, you know it. And of
Some
course,
French people would argue I'm not too French anymore, but sure, keep going.
Well, you're one of the few people able to talk in a very well-informed and way, not just theoretical, about why it is that European startup world is so seems to be struggling to compete with America.
Yep.
So here's your opportunity to wax lyrically about what Europeans need to do to improve their startup world.
Well, that's a dangerous question you're asking me, because I don't want to be the one lecturing everybody on how Europe.
Well, you can just lecture me. You don't have to lecture everybody.
While I moved to San Francisco.
Well,
you see, there is some
right,
controversy here already.
Let's put it simpler then, and maybe balance it. What can Europeans learn from Americans on the startup front and the tech front, and what can Americans learn from Europeans?
Well, it's easy. Do not copy.
Which way? Who shouldn't copy who?
I think Europe has a too big tendency to tell entrepreneurs that it's okay to take something that works great in the US and take it as fast as possible to Europe, and that's that is killing European innovation. And there is a lot of examples, like Facebook had a StudiVZ in Germany, and there was Groupon that was acquired then by Groupon. But you see all this. I know too many startups who don't innovate just because they are focusing on what works here and copying it. Here, if you walk around in the streets, you have a drink, and you're saying, "Oh yeah, I'm copying whatever, Foursquare." You kind of suck already. You see my point? In Europe, it's okay, and I think we need to change that. Second, I think it's because there's no innovation. If you keep copying, you're always behind. Then there is the language and the way you think about it. That's what people think about the least, I think, is they always say, oh, it's more difficult to raise money. I don't think it's true. More difficult to start a business. I don't think it's true in Europe. What I think is true is a question of ambition. Here, when someone launches whatever startup, even if it doesn't take off well, like Color, for example, or someone launches Instagram, or they want to eat the world. In Europe, we have a tendency to first dominate our country first, or our city even. And I hate to say it, but even in the UK, it's the case. Like if you go, you tend to see startups who are too focused on the UK, or in Germany, or in Madrid, or in Spain, and so on. Same in France, of course. By the time you succeed, so I like the YouTube example. YouTube, and there is a video startup called Dailymotion in France. They both launched at the same time. Actually, the French started even before YouTube, as far as I understand. And you know what happened to YouTube? Huge success. And that other one is pretty much local, right? And no, I don't think it's so big. Why? Because more often the entrepreneurs don't think global. And by the time they think too local, and then they say we will extend to other countries, too late. Here they raise more money, they have more users, and so on. So that's the other thing they could fix, which is more a state of mind. And then obviously the governments don't help. Like the European institution is a catastrophe in terms of hiring people, for example. It's not flexible. If you're French, which I've been trying to hire someone in Germany, it's awful. You have to create a subsidiary, or you have to have some kind of establishment there. You have to follow, of course, the social rules of Germany, Spain. Awful, horrible. So I can't believe that we're not solving this. And now the positive note, the web went from 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in the last 3 years. So you can see there is a movement to startups and entrepreneurship. And also we received last year 500 applications for our startup competition.
What about what Americans can learn from European entrepreneurs? Is there anything?
Europeans always say diversity. And it makes me smile, honestly, because what there is to learn about diversity. Yes, I think it's, there is one thing which is clearly the, I don't know. No,
Nothing?
Well, yeah.
You're never going to be allowed back in Europe. They'll take away your French passport.
I know that. No, now you kill me in Europe forever. No, I think people are used. I wrote a column which is why Europe sucks and doesn't. I'd rather be transparent.
I think European entrepreneurs dress better than Americans, don't they?
Well, the lifestyle, yes. The way of living is pretty cool. No, you know what I miss here? I miss the natural tendency of Europeans, and that I have still, to take time to know each other. So, for example, let's take this lunch example again. I'll take you to lunch. And sometimes here I have people saying, this is still very European of me, to say, let's go have lunch. And some people tell me, why? What do you mean, why? I just want to know you. You see what I mean? I like that part of Europe where you can, get a lot to know someone and then do business with. Here you do business first. If there is no fit, we don't, you see what I mean.
Didn't Mike Harrington once say, though, that the problem with Europe was it was all lunch and no business?
That was a little pushed. But I had 2 months of lunch booked in Paris when I was there. 2 months ahead.
And how long were you there?
Here, you mean? No, here now there are no lunch booked. So that's easy. But
and if someone in our audience, and this sounds like a movie, lunch with Loic, what do they have to do?
Yeah,
invite you out.
Yeah, that's easy. I see as many cool people as I can. I'm very open. I think I answer on Twitter all day long at Loic. That's easy. But on I think there is a lot of hope for Europe, but it has to forget it's complex. It has to forget the fact that it's feeling small already. It shouldn't. If you start a startup in Europe, you need to feel global and don't think in French or in German. And that's what I did with the web, which made it so successful. We have 60 countries going there. It's very global. We didn't try to do a French event.